Welcome, my friends. Today we have an amazing opportunity to meet a world-class athlete who just happens to live in our community. Dave Willsie became a quadriplegic after he was injured in a recreational hockey game in 1995. His experience as a semi-pro baseball player and cross-country runner gave him an advantage in wheelchair rugby, and he made the national team in 1998. Off the court, Willsie has become a public face for the sport. He was featured in the Academy Award-nominated documentary Murder Ball and has appeared on such programs as The Rick Mercer Report. He is also a mentor to up-and-coming athletes and is the now player-coach of the London Annihilators. Housekeeping note, I recorded this intro after the interview, so I found out later that the audio is not that good. I'm not a professional. You can hear me quite clearly because I'm close to my phone, but Dave is soft. So you're gonna have to crank up the volume to 11, maybe plug some headphones in or earphones, quiet the dog, gather your family all around because they're all gonna wanna watch this. Get some popcorn. Oh, side note, I'm wearing my South Chester Leafs t-shirt, and I just put on my Maple Leafs hat again after another short exit. Here we go. Good afternoon, Dave.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for doing this video for us.
My pleasure.
So we are in Dave's house,
Yeah.
and he overlooks a beautiful Thames River. We are just outside of Dorchester at Wabruno.
Yeah, sure.
So are you Nilestown?
Well, I'm on the Nilestown side of the river, so
Okay.
technically,
I don't want to get anybody in trouble here.
no. I don't know where I live, really. Anyway.
So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So we have a whole bunch of questions for you, for the students.
I heard.
And as I was saying before, I'm a little nervous because I've never interviewed such a big celebrity. I went down the Google rabbit hole, and it wasn't hard to find information on Dave Willsie.
That's funny.
So I guess we'll start off with, what school did you go to? Because you're a local boy.
Yeah, I started out the first couple of years going to Westminster Central Public School, and then we moved into London, actually. I went to Nicholas Wilson there till grade 8, and then Laurier High School, all in London.
Almond.
Yeah.
Okay. And so a shameless plug for your company of Wilcon Lynn Lumber.
That's right.
So you own that with your brothers?
Yes, I have two brothers, and brother Chris runs Lynn Lumber, and brother Jeff runs Wilcon, and I just help out where I can.
So you were in a wheelchair.
Yes.
So how did your injury happen?
Oh, about 26 years ago, a long time ago, I was playing hockey, and I slipped, and I went head first in the boards, and I broke my neck. And from that, I became instantly paralyzed from the chest down, and from about here down on my arms, I can't move either. So my balance and that are a little affected.
And how old were you then?
27. So if you do the math, I'm really old, 53.
I can't do that math in my head.
Okay, well maybe that can be a question for the kids after in math class.
Yeah. So you've been on the Wheelchair Rugby national team for Canada for 19 years as a player.
Yeah.
So how did you get into wheelchair rugby?
Well, after my injury, when I was healthy enough, you move from one hospital to what's called a rehab hospital, and that's Parkwood Hospital right here in London. And it basically teaches you how to live life in a wheelchair. So maybe how to get up and down, maybe a couple steps with friends, how to get dressed, how to feed yourself, and all that kinds of things. So I was there for almost 9 months in total, learning how to live my life again. And I met a couple guys who would come in to visit, and they played this crazy sport called wheelchair rugby, and they kept talking about it, and once I was a little bit stronger and got out of the hospital, they invited me out to play, and I did.
So a little background on wheelchair rugby. It's actually a Canadian sport.
That's right.
It was invented in Winnipeg
That's right.
in the late 70s?
Mid 70s. Yeah, 74, I think. So, yeah. Canadian sport, invented by, actually turned out to be a good friend of mine because he's still involved.
Wow.
And he actually just retired last week from the Canadian wheelchair rugby squad there. So, just a great guy, and kind of funny how things happen, you know. Guys invent a sport. It's crazy when you think about it.
So what are the basic rules of wheelchair rugby?
Yeah, it's nothing like able-bodied rugby. So we play on a basketball court, and it looks a little bit like basketball, except it's full contact between chairs. So I can't hit the person to person, but our chairs can run into each other. That's allowed.
At any time you can hit someone?
Yes. Offense, defense, with or without the ball. Just have to wait for the referee's whistle. So that's a good rule. At each end of the court, about 8 meters apart, are 2 cones, and you have to carry the ball through those cones for 1 point. And there's a lot of goals. It's a really fast game. The average score is about 65-60, so it's up and down real quick.
So does the ball have to cross the
Possession of
plane?
the ball,
Okay.
and any 2 wheels of my chair have to cross the line.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And in how many countries is this played? Just offhand. That's a.
You know what? I don't know because it gets bigger every day.
Okay.
I heard there's over 100 countries playing it now.
Wow.
So,
So just some stats for the Paralympics.
Yeah.
There's 4,400 athletes,
yes.
540 events in 22 sports.
Yes.
That is massive.
It is. It's the second biggest sporting event in the world is the Summer Paralympics, second only to the Summer Olympics.
Wow.
And it's pretty cool to take part of that.
Well, I got off track there. Sorry.
Okay.
What other sports did you try during your time when you were thinking about rugby or after even?
Yeah. The really cool part, especially about living in a country like Canada, is whatever sport you're interested in or playing, they've figured out a way to adapt it, where you can play it in a wheelchair, or if you use canes or whatever, prosthetics, whatever your disability is. So I've been able to go skiing, which is fun.
That's neat.
I'm going to try water skiing soon, so I'm really looking forward to that. Wheelchair basketball, sledge hockey, and of course wheelchair rugby. Turned out to be my true passion.
Did you ever think about doing another sport like more, like sort of higher level?
No, to be honest, it's really hard to be high level sport. You have to be dedicated to one sport. So that's why I guess a lot of guys don't play in the NHL and the PGA or something like that.
Right.
So,
Yep.
but it's always fun to. I have friends that play all the other sports, and we do that. So it's a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of time and effort just to play rugby.
So I think I read in your bio that by the time you took up wheelchair rugby, you were 2 years to get on the national team.
2 years out of my accident, I was I was playing for about a year when I got invited to try out for Team Canada.
That seems pretty quick.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I always said that throughout playing wheelchair rugby, I had the right coach at the right time, and Marty Rust was my coach when I tried out, and he saw something in me that wasn't there yet, and so he gave me a spot on the team and kind of believed in me, and so he wanted to work extra hard for that guy, and paid off, I guess.
So how many countries have you traveled to?
I should really count them. I really
lot?
don't know. I'm going to say it's more than 30 maybe. I don't know. I actually go to Japan. That's on Thursday because, well, they're hosting the Paralympics there in the end of August, so we're going to go for a little practice now. So it's been a year and a half since we've traveled, so I'm going to have to remember how to pack.
So you have since retired from the sport, and you're now an assistant coach with the national team?
Yeah, after the games in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 2016, I retired as a player, and Team Canada asked me to join as an assistant coach. So I said yes before they could change their mind, and I've been doing that ever since.
So we actually have your jerseys here, and you just told us that your jersey number was retired.
Yes.
So this is a home and away jersey,
Yeah.
and you thought that this was one of the last ones you wore in Rio. Is that?
Yes, I can tell that
Close.
these are game-worn shirts. So the reds are home and our blacks are our aways. And
So why number 14?
well, the kids will have to Google this, but when I was young, the former captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, his name was Davey Keon, and he was a smaller player, and I was always the smallest guy on the team. So the one player's dad started calling me Davey because my first name's Dave Keon, and so he was number 14. I think that's how it all started.
Okay. And your number's retired.
Yes.
Like it's in the rafters, big ceremony. No one can ever wear it ever again.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
That's quite the honor.
It is quite an honor. The first two Canada's ever done was myself and one of my best friends, Garrett Hickling, number 5. So those are the two numbers retired, and we got to do it together, which was nice. And I believe there's a really good picture because a young Luke Willsie was at that ceremony as well. So it was pretty cool.
And you were an assistant captain and then captain of the national team?
Yeah, we have co-captains. So we always have 2 captains, and yeah, fortunately, I was for 12 years, I guess.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool because your teammates vote on it.
And who was the other captain at the same time you were?
There was a bunch. There was Ian Chan, Garrett Hickling would be the 2 other ones. So, and to be mentioned with those 2 great players is pretty cool.
So not only is there a national rugby team, there's also club teams in each of the provinces.
A lot of cities.
Most
Yeah,
cities?
so
Okay.
a lot of cities have them.
And so so it's here in London.
Yes.
You can talk a bit about that team.
Yeah, we're the London Annihilators, and we actually play at the new gym now at the hockey rink in Dorchester. That's our home gym.
The Flight Exec Center.
Yeah, the Flight Exec Center, and we got a pretty good squad. A lot of Paralympians have come through that program, and probably the top club team in one of the top club teams actually in North America. So
Wow.
we travel all through the States and Canada and play our games.
So when is your season for that? Normally, not
Normally
COVID.
our season is almost like the school season. The summer's off. So
Wow.
we pretty much go September to end of April.
Okay. And you're a coach now?
I still.
Are you still playing? Player
still
coach?
Player coach. Still hanging on. The shifts are short though, and I still have a lot of fun at that level. And yeah, you're with the guys and everything. So I look at it like all my friends play old timers hockey, so I can play old timers rugby. So.
And can girls play on the team too? Like, is it co-ed for?
Yes, actually, we are. If you look it up, it says like there's men's basketball and women's wheelchair basketball at the Paralympics, but wheelchair rugby, it'll say mixed event, which means it's a co-ed, so it's both men and women play on the team. So very much so.
And have you ever been injured during a game or
Yes.
training?
Yes, quite often actually. I played a long time, so I was very fortunate, knock on wood there, that I didn't have anything too major. Some broken fingers and my thumb and some ribs got cracked, but nothing that really kept me out of the game. So I never missed a game in all the years of playing. So I was very lucky that way. Fortunately, the chair takes most of the abuse, and we always have a welder at games.
A welder?
Yeah, or you have contact information, so you can go get your chair welded in between games if it breaks.
So it's kind of like a NASCAR race.
Yes, very much so. We have a pit crew, wheels pop on and off. And,
Wow.
Yeah, you bet.
Cool. And in that vein, maybe we'll just look at this chair right now. So
Sure.
Dave has brought his wheelchair rugby chair
Yeah.
out.
This is it. So as you can see, you sit very low to the ground, so you're a lot more stable. It's got a place to tuck your feet safely in, down the bottom. It's got a little crash bar on the front.
And that's just steel too.
Yep. That's still bolted onto the aluminum frame.
It's pretty beat up there, Dave.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty new chair. And then, so this is aircraft aluminum. And they actually bake it 3 times in an oven to harden it.
Wow.
When it's all said and done. A very special thing about this chair is there's 2 wheels on the back to stop you from tipping over backwards, which is very important. Very safe that way.
So those are kind of like rollerblade wheels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then these wheels are on an angle, so it turns better and much more stable. These are snowboard bindings. Here. And I use that like a seat belt. So if my chair stops, I stop with it. And I don't just keep going.
And do you tip over?
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't happen too often. So we'll stop the game, and then a couple of guys will run out onto the floor and flip us back up, and then we just go again. So.
Cool. And this plexiglass at the back, is that just for the ball not to go under?
Yes, and other chairs, they're bumpers, and that can't get a hook on you and hold you that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you modified your chair at all to make it, a little bit better?
Actually, this is a chair out of Germany, and it's got 72 different measurements on it that make it my chair.
So it's customized.
Very customized.
So I couldn't fit in that.
You would, but it wouldn't be performance-wise. So it's like anything else. It's all about performance. It's not the most comfortable chair to be in. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Nice. And while we're on the props here, here's a regulation ball.
It looks like a volleyball. It's the exact same size as a volleyball. But you guys can't tell, but it's a little stickier, what we call tacky, and it's a lot tougher. So the bladder inside is heavy duty, so it stays round.
And it's bouncy.
Yes, it's very bouncy. And this one's got the Team Canada logo on it.
Okay.
Right there. It bounces pretty good.
Would you use one ball per game?
No, because we carry the ball on our lap, and guys are sweating sometimes. So the ball gets wet. So when the ball gets scored, they change them out and rotate them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a football
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
So you see, my hands are always open, so I can't make a fist if I try. That's about it. I can bring it in a little bit. So I use the back of my hand to hold the ball a lot,
Ah.
and I catch like this, and I throw and catch. So you have to practice a lot to learn how to do that.
So what is your training schedule when you were a player?
Yeah.
And your training schedule, so kind of the balance too between work and in the sport.
Well, I believe the whole time I played for Team Canada, there might have been 1 or 2 other players with other jobs. Most of the guys are students or full-time athletes. Fortunate enough, I have my 2 brothers work really hard, so I can take a lot of time off. And when you're training, it's I'm going to use when we were getting ready for everybody might remember the Pan Am games that were in Toronto a few years back. We were getting ready for those, and so I would have 9 training sessions a week. So 3 would be in the weight room lifting weights, 3 would be on a track pushing, and then 3 would be actually in the gym practicing wheelchair rugby. And we also watch a lot of videotape of ourselves in other countries playing. So put that all together, it's quite a bit.
Wow. Who's the best team?
Well, we're going to find out.
During your playing days, did it change up and down, and who came on?
Yeah, I mean, there's only been 4 countries to win a medal, I think, at the Paralympics in our sport. So it's Canada and the U.S., Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. Sorry, so 5. Yeah. And Japan's the reigning world champs, and we're going to go play 4 games against them next week. So we shall see, because we've been practicing for a year and a half, and we're not sure where we are. So we'll find out.
And you're aiming for gold.
We are aiming for gold. But yeah, we got like a bunch of young guys too, so I wouldn't bet against us, that's for sure.
So during your playing career, you were in 5 Paralympics. Sorry, I gotta grab the paper.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were in 5 Paralympics,
Yeah,
and then in between them, there was World Championships.
that's right. So I played in 5 World Championships and 5 Paralympics.
And so you had a first at the Paralympian Games in 2015, and that was in Toronto?
That was amazing, yeah. Winning a gold medal, because usually when I play with Canada, it's too far away for friends and family to watch in person. So when the Pan Am and the Para-Pan Am Games were in Toronto, friends and family were able to be there, and you'd see them in the crowd.
Home crowd.
And you bet.
It's cool.
It's very exciting.
And then at the Olympics, you've been a bit snake bit. A second in 2012 in London, a second in 2004 in Athens,
Yep.
and then a 4th in 2016 in Rio, a 4th in Athens
No,
in 2000, or Sydney,
Sydney, and we got the bronze in Beijing.
a bronze in Beijing.
Yeah, so the gold has eluded us. That's putting it nicely. But I can't stress how hard that tournament is. I mean, only the top 8 countries even qualify. So every time we go there, there are really good teams not even making the Paralympics. So take that into consideration. We've always played well. Obviously, in hindsight, you could have done some things different, but there was never a lack of effort or anything like that. So, you know, it's still not too bad. A couple silvers and a bronze.
Yeah, not many people have those.
No. So the secret to that's playing on a really good team.
So on the Olympics, you have a bunch of medals down here.
Yeah.
So your first Olympics was 2000 in Sydney.
Yeah, first Paralympics. Was
Sorry, Paralympics. Yeah.
It's all good.
What was your most memorable of the 5?
Well, there's something about every one that you remember. But going back to Sydney in 2000, I know this is going to blow your kids' minds, but the internet wasn't really a thing yet.
What?
So,
Well, you are old.
you'd get your information in a newspaper or a magazine. So I didn't really know the Paralympics was a big deal. I knew I was just going kind of for the World Championship of Wheelchair Rugby, my sport, but I didn't know the whole Paralympic movement was as big as it was, or definitely didn't know it had the crowd support that it did. So we're getting ready for the opening ceremonies, which if you guys see on TV and it moves you a little bit, if you're there in person, it's amazing. So it started to rain in Sydney, so they moved all the athletes in underneath the stadium in the big holding area, and we took our ponchos off. We're all dressed in our really good roots gear. We got our flag bearer up front, and I'm saying, do you think anybody's here? Because it's raining out, and it's a 80,000 seat stadium, so it's bigger than the Sky Dome. And, or what do they call it now? The Rogers Center. You can edit that one. So
No.
it's bigger than the Rogers Center. And we can't see anything until we come up the tunnel, and we're behind our flag bearer, who's right up front, and it says Canada, and we come on, and the roar from the crowd, hits you in the chest. You can feel it. I don't know if you ever had loud music or whatever, but times that by 100, and you couldn't talk to the guy beside you. It was so loud. And you go around the track, and the place is packed. And I found my parents and aunt and uncle and everybody up top, way up top. And it was really a cool feeling. And that's when it hit home. Okay, this is kind of a big deal, Dave. And I don't usually get nervous about a few things, but yeah, I kind of started to get a little butterfly going there.
So compare that to your last ones in Rio. What was the feeling there?
Yeah, Rio wasn't. It was more of a laid-back party atmosphere in the crowd, and I mean, it was still there. Like all our events were sold out and everything like that, and the sport was there. They just have more of a laid-back style, whereas the Aussies and the Brits and they're just rah rah rah, and they're loud, and they're having a good time. So it was a little bit different. They're all different for sure.
What was the best one? It's like picking so it's kind of like picking your best nephew.
Well, in that case.
Well, you'd say niece, right?
That's right. You like them all, but for us, both Sydney, Australia, and London, England, they're also rugby nations.
Yep.
So our game sold out in like actual minutes online. Wow. And they're very knowledgeable rugby fans, and they cheer loudly, and they all know who you are. And as far as you're just going down the street and autographs, and there's Dave from number 14. That's
wow.
It's really cool that way. So I'd have to say those two for that reason. Mm-hmm. I always say, like we always stay in the athletes' village, which is kind of like a little bubble, and everybody knows what a bubble is now.
Mm-hmm.
But we're insulated from what's going on out. So my parents and always maybe a couple friends and family went to all the games, and I always say they're better people to ask, like what was the vibe outside and around in the crowds. So and see John or Gene Willsie around, ask them.
And how was it at the athletes' village? Was it like that's a lot of people, and that's plus all the helpers too, right? Like all the attendants and all the
attendants, but there's also the coaching staff, video guys. Mm-hmm. You got your medical staff. So our team has 2 massage therapists, an athletic trainer, an athletic therapist, physiologist. So they're all at the village. Like it's packed, but there's such a sense of togetherness in the Paralympic athletes village, because everybody not only is really good at their sport, everybody went through something in their everyday life that makes them get there, and there's just this like a nod to each other, whether you're a weightlifter from Kenya, or I always go out of my way and have nice conversations and chats, usually in the big cafeteria, and I'll just put a tray down at a table and just start meeting people that way. It's a lot of fun. The cafeteria itself is about the size of a football field, and it's foods from around the world. Because when you're playing, you want to eat what you eat every day when you're training. Mm-hmm. Like you don't want to change anything. So I really love Ethiopian food's really good. Obviously, I eat a lot of Asian food with the Japanese, and I love my Vietnamese soups and stuff. So yeah, it's really good.
So we'll take a look at these medals now.
Okay.
And
fortunately, they all say on them where they are. I might mix them up.
So this was Athens in 2004, and it is a
silver medal.
Silver?
Yeah.
And the story behind that medal you were telling us before was
we upset the number 1 team in the semifinal, the USA. Mm-hmm. So that's always good. But we lost to New Zealand in the final in a very, very close game.
It's heavy.
Yes, it is.
And the next one?
This is Beijing, China.
And that was in
2008.
2008.
Yeah. And this is a bronze medal. And it's got jade, because the Chinese believe jade is a lucky jewel. And the back of every Paralympic medal is Braille. I don't know if it shows up on.
Yep, good.
So there's Braille on all Paralympic medals, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this one is London 2012.
Yes, I call it the other London, London, England. And this is our silver medal. We lost to Australia in the final. Once again, beating the number one USA in the semifinal.
That was pretty plain. Not as much on it.
Yeah, so this one here, if you take all the medals, it makes a picture of an angel with wings. So this part of an angel's wing there. They have really good stories behind all the medals. You get a nice, they come with a nice travel case and a story.
That's cool. And this one is a different color.
These last two are both gold.
So this is Toronto 2015, the Paralympian Games.
That's right.
And it is a gold.
There's a gold medal.
Feels nice and heavy.
That's right. There's actually a show leading up to the games on Discovery Channel on the making of the medals, and it's all mined in Canada, and they were made at the Canadian Mint, and it's pretty cool.
And the last one here.
This is a World Championship gold medal from Gothenburg, Sweden.
In what year was that?
That was 2002.
And you were saying before you had a bunch more just put away.
Oh yeah. Okay, we'll say put away. I looked for them. I'm not sure. They're around somewhere.
So these Paralympics coming up.
Yeah.
You're a coach. So
Yeah.
does that change like your preparation, your mindset, your like?
Yeah.
Are you more nervous because you aren't playing? Like you can't.
I'll probably be more nervous before games. I always find now that I'm coaching, when the guys are warming up or getting taped up, and I have nothing to do, that's when my mind's going. Once we have our tip off and the ball's in the air, the whistle goes, we're on doing your job, and it really, when you're focused, it could be the gym in your school or a gym with 12,000 people screaming. You don't really notice that too much.
And have you ever met anybody famous, a celebrity, another sports player, or
Yeah, you bet.
someone?
Probably just the most famous person I met was Prince Charles, and
The next King of England.
that's right. So he actually, I was one of the athletes chosen to meet him at a groundbreaking ceremony for the Athletes Village at the Pan Am Games, and it was back in 2012, and so it was leading up to them, the English, hosting the Paralympics. So we had a nice chat, and very nice gentleman. Yeah, very easygoing.
Any sports figures?
Yes, I've been fortunate enough to do some celebrity dinners. So you sit at the head table, and you get to meet some great guys like former Blue Jays Devon White and Joe Carter, and we've got a lot of hockey players too, being in Ontario. So yeah, there's a long list.
So you're the most famous Willsie, though.
I would have to say my cousin Brian, probably. He played in the NHL. And
I was giving that to you, though.
if you ask my grandma, it was probably Cheryl Willsie because she's a doctor. So, but you know, fame's funny because I don't even know about it. So.
And have there been any other opportunities to present themselves because of your involvement in wheelchair rugby? Like, what have you been doing outside of the sport or for the sport even?
Yeah, it's not so much because of wheelchair rugby. Maybe it gives me a little more street cred, but just like I told you the story about those two guys coming to visit me when I was in the hospital, we just pay it back. So obviously I haven't done it in a year and a half because of COVID, but if there's a new injury at Parkwood Hospital or around, definitely, you know, just have a nice chat and see how it's going.
Do you actively recruit kids or people to come play wheelchair rugby?
I actively recruit anybody to be active, and hopefully they like wheelchair rugby, but that's why there's all kinds of different sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously it's not for everybody. Some people like the individual sports of tennis and track, and whatever, and some people shy away from the contact sports like basketball. But what I like to tell people, and what was told to me as well, no matter what your passion was before your accident, they've pretty much figured a way out. So if you're a musician or an artist or whatever, you can continue down that line. It's not, it may be a little harder, but it's just as rewarding for sure.
So what age can you start playing?
You can start playing with your parents' permission pretty much at any age, but usually 14 is a good start age, and at the lower levels, and then yeah, you can progress through.
And do you have to be in a wheelchair to play?
So wheelchair rugby is actually a sport invented for quadriplegics. So quad means four, and so all four limbs have to be affected. So both my legs and both my hands are affected. So that's kind of the criteria for this. So we do have some people who can walk with prosthetic legs that do play our sport, but most are in wheelchairs full time.
And is there anything else you want to say? Just before we wrap up here. Any comments or stories or anything?
Well, it always blows me away when I'm doing something like this and we start talking places you've been, people you've met, because it's not like you wake up with a plan one day and that's where it is. I just started playing a sport that I love. I got a little competitive streak in myself, so you want to be the best at it. It started out, I just wanted to be the best in the London area, and the best in Ontario, and it just kind of kept going, and I got lucky that way. But it never stopped being fun for me, and I think that's why I was able to play so long. So.
And I've seen the skiers go down.
Yes.
That is amazing. How'd that feel?
It was really cool.
I love skiing. I love the feeling of whipping down the hill. But
yeah. So the best thing about it's a sit ski. So you sit in a little sled, and it's got a ski on it, and mine actually had two for balance, and you fly down the hill pretty good, and your center of gravity is so low, you just carve it, and it's really cool. And you see the guys in the Paralympics actually going faster than the guys in the Olympics. It is crazy. And they also have a couple of the sports that just blew me away when I saw them, especially live, was the blind long jump. So I want you to think about that for a second. Everybody knows what the long jump is. And so we're in the big stadium that holds 80,000 people, and it's loud. You've got different events going on. And then on the big Jumbotron, it says, "Quiet, please," and the whole stadium goes quiet. And then you've got the long path that this visually impaired runner runs down, running towards his coach's voice, which is at the jump-off zone. He hits that and jumps, and then 80,000 people are clapping, and then quiet for the next guy. And it is so cool.
You can't see where you're jumping. You can't see how you're landing.
That's right.
Wow.
Really is a leap of faith, I guess.
Yeah. Good. So if there's nothing else, Dave, I'd like to thank you for doing this for the school. Again, we don't normally have celebrities in our midst. And I guess the reason why I'm doing this is because you have some connections to the Belmont area and to South Dorchester. Yes. So your nephews, Luke and Henry.
Yes.
A teacher, Mr. Clark, is a cousin.
Yes.
And you have a couple more cousins,
right.
Rylan and Brindley and Charlie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like family. Even though you didn't go there.
No, I did not.
But
I'm there in spirit.
Yeah.
And wherever I go around the world, it's always nice to come home. So I love being here.
Nice. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
A huge thank you to Dave for doing that interview for us. Go on YouTube and watch some of these wheelchair rugby games. They are fun to watch. The Paralympics are coming up in August, and this is usually where we put in some bloopers, but I think I did enough bloopers during that interview. Thanks for watching.